I remember when I was pretty young, like 9 or 10, I was in the car park of a pub in Southend, England. I remember seeing someone in their teens in the window of a house looking over the car park. They waved to me and I felt like I knew them somehow. My parents asked who I was waving at and I said, just some lady in the window over there. Didn't think much of it. Fast forward 10 years. I was at my nan's new house. I remember walking into her room, which I was never allowed to do. Going to the window, I then realized I was in the house, looking over that same parking lot and remembering that interaction years before. Then a girl around 9 or 10 who was in said car park waved to me and I waved back. I felt like I knew her. I could not explain it and I've never told anyone about it. It freaked me out.
This didn't happen to me, but to my dad. He works for a heating and air conditioning company, so he often has to go out to people's houses to fix things. About 5 years ago, he told me he had a bizarre dream where he went on a call to an elderly woman's house. He'd never seen the house or this woman before, but he said it was a bizarre feeling because of how realistic the whole thing felt. He fixed her boiler in the dream, chatted for a bit, and then left. About a week later, his company gets a call from an elderly woman needing her boiler fixed. They send my dad on the job. When he arrived, he said it was the exact same house from his dream and the same old lady. He knew her name before he even had to ask and knew his way around the house without having gone inside. When she opened the door, she said, "Hi, Gary," and when he asked how she already knew his name, she said she had a dream last week that her boiler broke and that my dad is the one who came to fix it. So she just knew that would be his name. Two complete strangers, never having met each other, had the exact same dream that they would meet each other, and they did. The whole thing is so crazy.
I was about 12 years old and woke up in the middle of the night needing to take a leak. I walked across the hall to the little bathroom, hit the lights, and was about to reach for the toilet when I glanced up and saw a face in the mirror. It was not my face. It was as if someone was on the other side, standing to the right with their face right next to the glass staring at me. I only saw it for the briefest moment, but it is seared into my brain. I screamed and ran out of there to find my dad. Of course, my dad investigated, then calmed me down, or tried to. Eventually, we had a prayer session because I was so freaked out. Eventually, I must have gone back to sleep. Fast forward to my 30s. I'd forgotten all about the event. One night, while visiting my dad quietly brings it up. Remember that one time you saw the face in the mirror? It suddenly came back to me in a rush of memory, sending a chill down my spine. Yeah, I remember. Well, he said, I sometimes think about that night. He looked down at the floor with a serious expression. I saw it too. He went on to describe exactly what I'd seen. We have no idea what that was. Apparently, when he investigated, he saw it and had a freak out of his own. Apparently, the prayer session was as much for his own nerves as it was for mine. I respect him for keeping that tidbit for me till my 30s, but I kinda wish he'd never told me.
I only vaguely remember the incident, but one night both of my grandparents were woken up by a loud sound. My grandmother swore it was a shotgun. My grandpa said it was a car backfiring since there was no one nearby who would be shooting. We lived pretty far from anyone. They bickered over it for a bit, then went back to bed. About 15 or so minutes later, the phone rang. It was my aunt. Her husband had been shot with a shotgun by a neighbor just 20 minutes before. The thing is, they lived 7 states away.
I died. I saw it. I lived it. Either it was another world with a version of me that died I saw, or I'm going crazy, but I died. We had a pep rally in school, and after it was finished, we had to go back to class. Well, my friend and I were not into that, so we wanted to go across the street to Sonic. Across the school, there is not heavy traffic, but if you don't pay attention, you could get hit. Well, I remember walking with him, and he dropped something, so I went across the street first. I just saw the red Tahoe heading right for me, and I got hit. I remember everything. I remember gasping for air. I remember waking up and sleeping again. Then nothing. All of a sudden, I was back in the stadium again, and the exact same words came out of my principal's mouth. My friend wanted to go get Sonic, but I was freaking out. Was asking him everything. I thought it had been a dream, so I went with him just to see what would happen. He dropped his stuff again, and I waited. To my horror, that same red Tahoe showed up. I told him that I'm going back to school. I ain't dying again.